So now that we have our picture of our periodic table with our sublevels and each electron in there, now we're going to go over some questions that we might see that we might need this information for. So one question might be, what is the electron configuration for the following elements? And this kind of comes from what we learned last week, where we learned that each element has a different number of electrons and they hold those electrons differently. So now we have a way of writing that down. So we'll start with the element lithium. So we want to write the electron configuration for lithium. So what you would need to do this is you would need this periodic table you just drew, and you will need a regular periodic table to find out where lithium is. So we find lithium, Li, right here. So now we find it on our diagram, and it would be right here, 2s1. And then all we have to do is we write out all the electrons up to that point, and their subgroups, I should say. So we would start with 1s2, because it has both of those, and we go all the way across, then go down just like a book, and then we fill in 2s, and we only have one electron in the 2s sublevel, so 1s or 2s1. So that's what lithium's electron configuration looks like. So let's do a few more. Next one we'll do is carbon. So we'll take a look at our periodic table, find where carbon is. So it's right here. Now we have to find it on our drawing of our periodic table. So it would be right here, 2p2. So we're going to start again. We always have to start at the same spot. 1s has both of those electrons. And then we go down to 2s. 2s fills all those electrons, 2s2. Then we go across to 2p. And we only fill up 2 electrons there. So here is kind of a fun fact. If you add up all the electrons, it'd be these numbers right here. You will get the same number as the atomic number, because that is how many electrons there are. And these numbers added together are how many electrons there are. So for carbon, we have 6. So we did it right. Let's do oxygen next. So we find oxygen here. It would be 2p4. So when we write it out, again, we always have to start at the same spot. 1s2, 2s2, and then 2p, and we go all the way to 4. All right, let me fold this over and we will do another one together. We'll do magnesium. So first step, find it on the periodic table. Magnesium's right here, number 12. And that would be in the 3s2. So that's where we're going to. So we start with the 1s, 2. Then we go to 2s. We fill it up with 2. If you're just going past it, you just put the full number. Then we go to 2p. We're going all the way past 2p, so we fill in all 6 of them. And then from here, just like a book, go down a level. And we're going to 3s2, because this is where magnesium is. And that would be our answer. So there is a shortcut. You can imagine if I ask you a really large element, like if we're going all the way down to lead, you might imagine, wow, I don't want to have to write all those things. There is a shortcut. So let me show you the shortcut because we're just about to go through some big ones. And then if you understand this, you can work on the rest on your own. So we'll do potassium, and we'll do this the shortcut way. You may notice, if we look back at all our old answers, they all start the same until they get to their last thing. So what we could do is we can use all these elements here on the far right side as checkpoints. So if I wanted to figure out potassium, because that's what our first question is, potassium, I would go to the element right before it. So potassium is 19, so I'd have to go up a level and then all the way over. And I would use argon, which is 18. And then that would be like my checkpoint, and I continue from there. So an example would be, I'd have to write argon here, so I'd put it in brackets. Argon. And then I could start from, argon is 3p, so I would start from the spot over right here. So for potassium, I'm only going to 4s1, so this is really short. I would just put 4s1. So that's not the best example of using one with a shortcut, so we'll just do bromine as well. So if we look at bromine, it is right here, 35. And if we take a look at where it is here, it is 4p5. So again, the element on the right side that's nearest before it, we can't use 4p6 because that's after, would be 3p6, which is argon. So how we would write this would be argon, and that starts us right here, and we go over here to 4s. We're going past 4s, so we fill it right up with 2. We're going to go through the D section. So 3d10. And then we have to figure out where bromine is. So bromine is 4p5, so we just go to 4p5. So if you feel more comfortable writing all these down, you could have done that instead of writing argon. But if you want to save time, you could just write argon like that and then continue from there. All right, so the next one we're going to do, we got strontium, and the last one we're going to do is gold. Gold gets a little tricky. All right, so strontium, we got to figure out where it is. Right there. So looking at our drawing, it would be 5s2. And if we want to figure out the checkpoint before, it would be going back to krypton, which would be 4p6. So we're going to start with krypton here in the brackets. And then, because strontium's right here, that's a really short one for us. 5s, and it gets both of them filled up too. So gold is a hard one because we have to start using the F. So I'll show you what I mean there. Gold's down here, 79 AU. So if we wanted to use a checkpoint, we would go up and over to xenon. So I will write xenon in here. And then we would figure out all these to gold. but we have to remember, and our picture helps us remember, we have to go through all these F's before we can get to our gold. So let me take another look at this so we can figure out exactly where gold is. Gold would be in 5D9. So that's the last thing we're going to write. So we started with xenon, so right here. And we're going to 6S next. 6S2. Then we got to jump to our 4Fs, because that's, you kind of have to imagine our 4Fs in this section right here. So we're going to write 4F. They're all filled up. So 4F, 14. And then we go into our 5Ds. So the next one would be 5D. And we just stop at 9, because that's where gold is. So these are all examples of how to write electron configurations.